The last time we set out on a road trip to Albania, it turned into a bit of a disaster. My car, a Russian Lada Niva stuck in the 70s, both in design and specs, broke down after just a few kilometers due to overheating. With our original plan scrapped, we borrowed my dad's car and explored other Balkan countries instead, turning a setback into an unforgettable adventure that became the first season of Balkan Detours. The following year, we were more determined than ever to finally reach Albania. This time we really set off in my Lada, taking a different route and brimming with high hopes, only to quickly realize that the car was going to test us every step of the way. What followed was a journey filled with unexpected twists, mechanical challenges, and this kind of stories that you can only find on the road.
Since we are stuck here for at least 5 days, we decided to help out a bit here on the farm. As it turned out, it's like a big flea pandemic at the moment.
Yesterday I counted it. It's about 300 by now.
300 bites.
Yeah. I'm the one who's driving.
It's brutal and I get dizzy just looking up at it.
It's actually a unique building. You can't find another building like this.
It would be a huge shame to see such a building go to waste because we're basically losing history and we're losing craft.
They try to do everything to not let that place fall apart.
We are not used to wear helmets in abandoned places, but here it's making a lot of sense. We just made it past the Hungarian-Romanian border. For the first leg of our trip, we decided to go to Romania, explore a few places here. For this trip, we don't have that much of a plan. And also this car is a big reason why we have to be spontaneous.
What do you mean by being spontaneously?
I mean...
Stopping spontaneously? Maybe?
Yes, stopping spontaneously and repair the car. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. We had to start just like last year with some issues which we fixed on the way. For example, the exhaust fell down. Since this is a car they use a lot in the Balkans, they've got a lot of knowledge, and with the current situation, I mean with the ongoing war with Russia, the spare parts for this car are quite rarely in the Western world, but now we're in the Balkans, they should have quite some in storage.
We have brought a lot of time. We are planning to be in the Balkans for 5 weeks or so. Right now it's day 3 of our journey.
So the question is, why have I bought a car like this in 2022? It's an old car, you have to put down your windows manually, you can't drive fast, it's uncomfortable, it's loud. It isn't quite safe, it doesn't even have an airbag. But the reason is, with a car like this, when you're going to countries like this, like the Balkans, it's a way of building a bridge between the cultures. If I've got a breakdown, for example, and I'm standing next to the road, people will stop and they most likely, the help doesn't end there, they invite you to their homes, they introduce you to their family. You've got a cultural exchange, and that's what traveling is all about, for me at least. You can barely talk to each other when you go like, what are we driving, 80 kilometers per hour, because it's too loud, everywhere is the wind, you've got no isolation for the sound. Sitting in this car is like time traveling. But let's see how this is going when we are climbing up some hills in, I don't know, the middle of the day with 40 degrees.
Yeah, so far it's only flatland here.
It was our first time in Romania. Over the next few days, we wanted to uncover hidden treasures before continuing our journey toward Albania. Excitement filled the air as we approached the first spot. Driving through the vast open flatlands, the scenery seemed to stretch endlessly. Fields that extended as far as the horizon were dotted by small towns and villages. Soon we arrived in Bobda, home to just 900 inhabitants. Despite its modest size, history runs deep, with records of the settlement dating back over 1,000 years. But here, time seemed to stand still. This was our destination for today. Before our trip, we had pieced together only vague information about the abandoned site towering over the village. A historic church we were eager to explore. Rumors suggested that restoration work had already begun. But when we arrived, there was no scaffolding in sight. Instead, we spotted a group of young people on the property. We assumed they were just local teenagers hanging out, but as we stepped onto the grounds, they handed us a liability waiver, and it quickly became clear. They were the restoration team. A diverse group was working on site, all voluntarily and united by the same goal: conserving history and craft. We'll dive deeper into their story later. First, we asked for a tour of the premises and a glimpse inside. Simona offered to show us around.
We need to talk about the family who constructed it. The family was the Csávossy. They were large-scale landowners.
The construction began in 1860 under the direction of Baron Csávossy, who wanted this to be the family's mausoleum. According to historical accounts, the site wasn't completed until nearly 50 years later. Shortly after, the Baron and his wife were laid to rest within these walls.
We have to go a little further from the church because they are putting down the existing structure.
Oh, there's something falling down, you mean?
It may be.
So what are they doing over there?
They are reconstructing the walls. As you can see, the corner is very damaged.
The crumbling structure was being meticulously restored, using traditional materials and techniques from over a century ago, methods that echoed those of the original builders. The restoration team we met consisted mostly of architecture students, eager to breathe life back into history. For them, it was a rare learning experience, offering insights into the properties of old building materials, something no lecture or office job could teach them.
So now we are entering the crypts of the Csávossy family. The two of them were buried here.
These coffins, are they empty now?
Yes, they are empty. The Csávossy was moved in the cemetery in the village.
Were there like coffins all over here?
No.
But why are there so many? Did they expect to have that money?
Yes, the family was very big.
Okay.
And they had descendants that are still alive. But they were basically exported. They had to abandon the manor and the church and all the domains that they had in Romania.
Over a century ago, the Csávossy family was forced to leave after their land was expropriated. Shortly after, the major of the village ordered the coffins to be opened, hoping to find valuable grave goods. Though he was arrested, a far more disturbing chapter soon followed, when a group of teenagers broke into the crypt and used the remains to play football. To prevent further misuse and neglect, the empty building was converted into a Roman Catholic house of prayer. But as the local religious community dwindled, the last service was held in the 1980s. With no resources to maintain the structure, the proud landmark succumbed to the ravages of time, battered by wind, weather, and vandalism. After decades of ignorance from the authorities, this group of passionate volunteers has taken it upon themselves to preserve the historic site for future generations. As we stepped through the heavy doors, a hint of disappointment washed over us. Inside, its former glory had been stripped away. Church pews were pushed aside to make room for wheelbarrows piled with shards, rubble, and layers of pigeon droppings. The once ornate furnishings had long since been stolen, and the majestic dome overhead appeared dangerously close to collapse. In a whirlwind of activity, the volunteers worked tirelessly to combat the relentless deterioration.
They are working on the roofs. They are removing the soil accumulated on the tin and the whole elements that are destroyed by time. This altar is original. It is from when it was constructed. The single piece that it was preserved as we can see today.
Just days before our arrival, these volunteers had begun their mission to save this vanishing landmark. Hello. While we preserved through the lenses of our cameras, their dedication was more hands-on. It seemed like they were rebuilding this church stone by stone. Beyond the physical labor, they faced challenges in finding authentic materials, solving complex structural issues, and navigating the labyrinth of bureaucracy. In this commitment, we saw a testament to the power of community and the belief that some places are too important to let them be erased by time.
I'm hearing like these droppings all the time, so they are pooping all the time, and so that's the reason why they gave us the helmets.
That's the welcome of the pigeons.
We are not used to wear helmets in abandoned places, but here it's making a lot of sense. Not only because of the poop.
Okay, let's give you an update. It turned out that all those young people are actually architectural students. We were invited to join them because we found out that we are kind of doing the same thing. As you know, we see ourselves as career preservationists. We try to maintain the history of those places by documenting them, telling the history, and yeah, that's just our approach. But they try to repair the roofs, they try to do everything to not let that place fall apart. And so we had a very nice chat, and right now we are spending the night somewhere in the middle of nowhere in Romania. But tomorrow morning we're gonna meet up with them again. Full moon is rising. I can show you this place.
You can't see any lights, so
yeah,
it's completely dark here.
Yeah, that's it. So that's us. Seems like a very good spot to spend the night.
It's
so
pretty
tomorrow,
quiet here. We can hear some cars passing by, but apart from that, nothing. Only the sounds of nature. Alright, so we can see the spot. It's like 10 o'clock now. They started to work over there like an hour ago, and we are joining them now and yeah, documenting what they are doing. We were sleeping close by. That's the nice thing with the Lada, you can actually go anywhere you want. Hier ist deutlich mehr los als gestern.
Da kommt gerade Holz an. Restoring a forgotten place is something that has always intrigued us. We wanted to learn more about the project called Ambulance for Monuments. Their mission is both ambitious and urgent, to protect Romania's cultural heritage on the brink of collapse. Yet their resources are limited, meaning full-scale restorations aren't possible. Instead, they focus on emergency interventions to stabilize structures and stop further decay, as explained to us by Ioana, an architecture student from Timișoara and the team leader on site.
So the Ambulance for Monuments, it is a national project. It started in 2016, and it's about safeguarding the heritage that it's in the state of pre-collapse. We are not doing restoration, we're just making sure that they don't fall. This is why we're called the ambulance. We're basically the paramedics, and then the doctors do the restoration, but that would be the community and other people involved. When we saw it in 2019, it was grand. It was covered in vegetation, it was very, very dirty, but it has a special kind of poetry and a special kind of light also because of the cupola, which is actually very, very broken. But still the light that falls through it is very nice. And so everything looks very grand, even though it's crumbling down. It's still very proud.
We have seen the kids running around here. Why is it important that they see that this is getting worked on or restored?
Because once you lose monument, you basically lose a part of the history of the people, a part of the collective memory. They all think that this monument is dead, to say so, and we are trying to demonstrate to them that it's alive. And this is why we want them to interact with the monument as much as possible, to create memories, to be part of the process, to regain the attachment. We do not want them to stay out of sight because we want them to enjoy and also learn from us. In the process of taking care of the monument in any way, it is very important to be a large team of very diverse people. The professionals, the volunteers, the authorities, the simple, curious people that think that the monument is nice, and it has to be something that's coming from a lot of ways, and it concentrates towards the same point, which is the monument.
I think it's kind of like bringing the community together, because people across the street in the shop, they see us and they communicate with us and like we interact. I think it's kind of a big deal for the whole community that this building is getting restored.
Ioana, yes, her name was also Ioana, explained that in theory buildings can have lifespans over several hundred years. Yet our throwaway culture often discards the old too easily. An unsustainable mindset, especially in the face of a climate crisis. Most structures can be transformed and repurposed, especially in rural areas where they could foster community life. Revitalization doesn't always need large budgets. Social connections and creative ideas often bring abandoned spaces back to life, turning decline into opportunity.
This building wouldn't have gotten in this state if people would have intervened earlier. And it's extremely frustrating. It's a really frustrating feeling. And I feel like it's important to give it back to the community. Or it would be a huge shame to see such a building go to waste, because we're basically losing history and we're losing craft. So we should really work to preserve the craft. If no one's using it, give it a new purpose. You can always use a building, because otherwise it would be torn down and a new building would be built instead of it. But you already have a building to begin with. So just use the building you already have.
In the silent decay of abandoned places lies a haunting warning. Crumbling walls hold forgotten stories and the craftsmanship of past eras. With every collapsing beam or roof, another piece of history is buried, leaving an incomplete puzzle of our heritage. By protecting and preserving these sites, we weave together the threads of time and safeguard the vibrant mosaic of our shared past. What an incredible start to our journey. We were eager to dive into weeks filled with explorations and unique experiences just like this one. But our trusty Lada had other plans. As soon as we were reaching the mountains, the car was overheating non-stop, and yesterday we quit this journey, we were changing plans and now we're going down to the plain fields of Romania. We decided to go to this mechanic guy, but he only has time in about 5 days. And so we were looking for an Airbnb and we found this place, which is very special. And so began our Romania detours. But you will see all of that in the next episodes. So we literally just came back from our first trip of the year, which is also the reason why this video took a little bit longer to finish. But let me tell you, we had a blast those last 10 days. We explored the northern part of Italy, and the places we explored reached from vehicle graveyards to underground stuff, military stuff, residential houses and villas where everything was left behind. And then also this bizarre tower, for example, that I just remember now, coming out of this grassland in the middle of nowhere. It was stunning, really. And also it was the first time that we explored Italy during winter time. Pros were the light, it was much more smoother, perfect for taking pictures. And also vegetation. Vegetation was less dense, so we don't have to fight through those thorn bushes. We simply walked through the garden, which was much more nice. Big con actually was the short days and also the cold nights. So we decided to pitch our tent in an abandoned place every night to camp there, but you know that we like this kind of stuff, so for us it was perfect. Well, all of that you're gonna see in Abandoned Italy Season 5, and if you don't want to miss it, make sure to already subscribe to the channel. What we always do when we are on a journey like this is to distribute some stickers in the streets and in front of abandoned places to make people a little bit more curious about them. And since a lot of you have asked for them, we finally decided to sell our stickers, so we put them in our online web shop. You can find the link to that in the video description down below. There's 3 different designs you can get in a set. Also, we are shipping worldwide. You could use them to distribute them in the streets or to beautify your gear. If you're interested, feel free to check out the stickers in our web shop alongside the other merchandise that we have there. The best way to support us and our work is to buy this merchandise directly from us, or to become a channel member here on YouTube, for example, or to get over on Patreon and do a constant donation. To everybody who's already doing that, thanks a lot. To everybody who's just viewing our videos and enjoying the content as well, thanks a lot, because that's what we're doing this for.